Hey, welcome to the Board Game Network. I'm going to be unboxing this game called A Distant Plane Insurgency in Afghanistan, put out by GMT Games, and it's the third in their coin series of games. Welcome to the Sandbox, Afghanistan, scene of tribal, ethnic, colonial, and Cold War conflict across the ages. Into this cockpit dropped a multinational post 9/11 coalition to root out Al-Qaeda and replace the hardline Islamist Taliban regime that harbored it. A quick invasion and regime change portended quiet reconstruction and good governance, but it was not to be so. In their Pakistan sanctuary, the Taliban rebuilt for an insurgency that would ensnare the coalition in a tangle of Afghan rivalries, shifting allegiances, and warlordism that the West had only distantly grasped. A Distant Plane takes 1 to 4 players into the Afghan conflict of today's headlines. This volume in the coin series teams 2 top designers of board games on modern irregular warfare. Volko Ruhnke, award-winning designer of Labyrinth, The War on Terror 2001 to ? And Brian Train, an experienced designer of irregular warfare simulation games. A Distant Plane features the same accessible game system as GMT Games' Andean Abyss, but with new factions, capabilities, events, and objectives. For the first time in the series, 2 counterinsurgent factions must reconcile competing visions of stability to coordinate a campaign against dangerous insurgents. Terror, drug trafficking and eradication, highway extortion and sabotage, drone strikes, and many more options are on the menu. The game runs leftover factions so that any number of players from 4 to solitaire can experience the internecine brawl that is today's Afghanistan. Have a good tour. It says it's a complexity of 5 and 5 out of 9 and a solitaire suitability of 9 out of 9. This is a heavy box. Here's our rules of play here. Sequence of play. I expect this to look operations a lot very similar to the other coin, Cuba Libre. This is the third in the series, remember. Non-player factions. Key terms index. There's a copy of the counter sheets. Here's your setup. Here's the scenarios. You've got a short 2009 to 13, 2005 to 13, 2003 to 13. Here's our playbook. Tutorial. First time players start here. So instead of reading the rule book, which was on top, start with a second book that's underneath. Ooh, and it gives you some stuff to read, and then stop, pause just a moment and read sections through the rule book. Please pause and then read this section. Okay, so you're reading a little bit and then you jump to the rule book and read a little bit and jump to the rule book for all the details. Changes from Andean Abyss, the first one in the series. Got some roll summaries, guide to coin operations, faction interactions, 1 player example of play, non-player Taliban march example, designer notes, challenges. Here's a designer, Volko Ruhnke, Giving some little behind the scenes there. Event text and background. Selected sources. He's got his bibliography right here. So you want to read up on that. Pronunciation guide. Tells you how to pronounce. You wouldn't be able to play this game if it wasn't pronounced right, I wouldn't think. Taliban. Make a fool of yourself just like I do when I say something wrong. Here's the Taliban. Here we got some victories, some reference sheets here. Warlords, government, coalition. Got one for each player. Got non-player coalition, non-player warlords, non-player government, non-player Taliban. Two of those. And a sequence of play reference, a card list reference. And a card list reference are awesome to have in these games if you know, looking for a card, want to know where it's coming, where it's at. Here's random spaces. Random spaces map. A counter sheet. Here we got some 3 dice. We got some Ziploc baggies. Deck of cards. Strategic release. U.S. Taliban talks. Pakistani politics. Development aid. Prison break. Local understanding. Hazara. Prison Break was an awesome TV show. At least season 1 was, anyway. The last season was pretty good too. Propaganda. Here we got some cubes, some pawns, some cylinders, some octagons made out of wood, all kinds of random stuff. And we got our board in a Ziploc baggie. So there's our map. Turkmenistan. Here we got our scoring track. We've got all kinds of countries around here. We got a legend, warlords, available forces, Islamabad track, Taliban available forces, sequence of play here, overflow A and B, government available forces. So that's what you can expect if you pick up the 3rd in the series of the coin series, Distant Plain, Insurgency in Afghanistan. Make sure you tune into all of our videos here at the Board Game Network. We appreciate when you subscribe and help us to get our viewership up and be able to get more games on the site.